Hey everybody, Xucaboa here with the third episode of Skyline6 Vanilla Multiplayer Collab Project. This is my first collab series, but certainly not my first time spending all day every day with the crew. We hang tight, we roll deep, and now you're rolling with us as we get into Morato, this stunning map made by Karina. I mean, take a look at this. Check out these fields that are situated between a majestic mountain on the one side and a beautiful bay on the other. This is my kind of terrain, if you know what I mean. If you don't, you'll see real soon what I'm talking about. But first, here's our brand new town of Kevin's Landing, named for Steven's dog. Cities by Steven kicked off this series, followed by Joy Builds Cities last episode. If you haven't seen their videos yet, you better do it, or else you're going to be that person that doesn't know all the inside references the cool kids are talking about on Discord. No peer pressure there or anything. I gotta say, I'm loving what I'm seeing so far. Remember, this is vanilla gameplay, so we gotta work our way through all the milestones and make sure the city is in good shape while we're transforming it into the hottest new build series you've ever seen in your entire life. I'm seeing that we got an organized grid layout in this town, which is great. In my opinion, the game just isn't set up well to start with a truly organic layout when playing with milestones. But I do see that the layout has variety, blocks of different sizes, some diagonals and light curves, a few walking paths sprinkled around. This is beautiful. All the little things like this will really give the town character as it grows. I'm seeing we're still mostly using dirt roads, which is smart because money is a real issue at this early stage of a vanilla build. I'm seeing we got a park already set up, a small park there. So all I gotta say, Joy, Steven, well done. Now I'm gonna take over. But to do what I want to do, I'm gonna need some serious cash. First, let's empty this landfill, and I'll tell you why that matters for my cash in just a moment. We've already got a good enough income to support recycling centers, so we'll place a few of them down right here and start emptying this big old trash box. Ooh, gotta rig up some power and water for the recycling, so let's do that quickly. And now, instead of sitting here and watching the landfill empty, let's set up a super fast time lapse to get that trash out of my face. There we go. See ya. We'll place one more recycling center, and that should be good for this episode. Now, let me explain why I just did that. Well, you see, my dear friends, that we have not yet reached the Boomtown milestone. Why does this matter? Well, take a look. It comes with a bunch of goodies, including highways, which I definitely want to unlock. It's got the Disaster Response Unit, which is a pretty gangster vanilla asset, I must say. But it also unlocks the cemetery. And once we reach this milestone, the cadavers of our Sims will start to stack up. But before that milestone, they mysteriously vanish without any need for funerals. We are really close to hitting that milestone, so let's D-zone just a few houses on the edge of town here to make sure we don't level up to the 2,600 population ahead of schedule. Okay, so now my plan is this. I'm gonna sit back, drink a refreshing beverage, and watch the money roll in. But also, I'll get a really good feel for demographic fluctuation by watching the RCI demand bars and population changes during this mega time lapse. By speeding this up a gazillion times, we can just watch how the pendulum of demand swings back and forth as our industry abandons and renews. This is fascinating stuff. I could watch this all day, but I've stopped it now that we have $1 million. You saw I didn't do anything during this. I just let it play while drinking my beverage, and the demand fluctuated and sorted itself out. Let's jump into the city statistics and analyze, because, you know, people love statistics, right? You can see in the population changes that we have a death wave going on. The first one was a bit more severe than the second. All this means is that Steven and then Joy zoned most of their residential in a relatively short time span. Steven's population is represented in the first wave, and Joy's addition offsets the second wave by about 50%. Normal vanilla science here, nothing of concern, but it means once we get those cemeteries in, the death waves will fill them pretty quickly. The game treats dead bodies like it treats trash, which is really messed up, but oh well. We can't empty our cemeteries without crematoria, which are unlocked much later, so every time one cemetery fills up, we'll have to build another one. Full disclosure here, I did de-zone a few more houses in these blocks. Temporarily, okay? We'll grow those later when I'm ready to move on to the next milestone. But now, on to project number 2. Is this 2 already? Is it 3? Either way, I want to move these coal power plants out of the flatlands here and into some terrain to mask the vanilla pollution. We've still got a very young city here, but with some cash in the bank, we can do some landscaping. The pollution will blend in way nicer with the cliff terrain texture than it does on flat ground. So I'll just make a quick little terrace here on the mountainside, and when that pollution fills in the grass, the brown color will almost look like a continuation of the mountain. Hey, it's not perfect, but this is vanilla gameplay, and vanilla problems require vanilla solutions. Ay caramba, everyone has lost their power. Well, you know what? That's okay, we'll just reconnect it. No big deal. Now, on to project 4? Yeah, we'll say 4. I want to get some specialized industry going on, and forestry is gonna be the ticket. What I'm about to do is start slapping down forestry things all over the place like crazy. But Xucaboa, why are you doing this? Well, pay attention and you'll see. I'm gonna cheese, spam, whatever you want to call it, until I level up as high as I can go. I really don't have any interest in making a massive forestry complex that doesn't look realistic, so I just want to unlock the assets as fast as possible. Let's just plop down some tree plantations over here where all these trees are. Some sawmills right over here. There we go. So while I'm leveling up, I'll de-zone the generic industrial area bit by bit to get people changing their jobs from yellow industry over to forestry industry. I'm going to try to time this as best as I can to ride the pendulum swings of industrial demand. Hey, level 2, wonderful. We've unlocked some new buildings, so let's just plop some more stuff down to get the industry where it's gotta be, and then hit that time-lapse button once again. Fun fact is that the sapling fields are actually more efficient production and jobs-wise than a regular-sized tree plantation. Alright, time-lapse, go! Wow, level 3, sweet. Once again, we'll set up for the next time-lapse by slapping down some more assets. I'm really not worried about how well this functions, I just need the numbers to advance so we level up. Time-lapse, go! Level 4, excellent! I don't think we will be able to hit level 5 with our current population, but this is perfect for now. We've unlocked a lot of assets that we can now arrange in a way that is functional and awesome. I've time-lapse spammed you enough for now. Normally I would do this sort of thing off camera, but I wanted to explain this for you in case you're not familiar with my methodology. So let's get into some layout and design. This is why we're all here, right? I want to raise this foothill up about 10 to 15 meters to get some nice yet subtle elevation change happening. Since I've de-zoned all the generic yellow industry here, I will just remove this section of the Linden District grid so that I can raise the terrain underneath it. I'm going to do my best to not change anything Steven or Joy have done. That is really important for me. We do talk like every day because we're friends, and so I promised that before I de-zone this industry, I triple-checked that it would be okay and not ruin anyone's plans. They gave me the green light since this is just temporary industry blobbing, so here we go. The one primary change I'm going to make to the grid here is to take this roundabout connection and put it directly to the road that exits the area. Since we have some industry here, it will facilitate the movement of trucks more directly instead of having them making turns in the grid. If you've been watching my channel, you'll notice an overlap of some themes from this episode and the last videos I made with forestry and organic grids. I recorded that multi-part episode and this video in early July, so over a month ago before this video is premiering. And I wanted to tie in the content from my advanced vanilla build here in case you wanted to dig deeper into the methodology. This collab is for a broader audience than I'm used to, so I want to not get too crazy with the technical stuff. Although I probably will get a little crazy, not gonna lie. Here, I'm gonna start setting up a small community that will be centered around this basic plaza asset. Kinda like the town square, you know what I mean? Looking at the fire coverage, I see that we could definitely go for another firehouse over here. Everything is very red. So let's place this European style firehouse down. Let's see, what about... yeah, right next to the plaza. This has created, as far as I can tell, our first skyline. I'm going to try to rearrange the grid here just a tiny bit to see if I can get a better setup. Perfect symmetry is not the goal. I want to be able to have connectivity and walkability, especially since we're going to be separated from Kevin's Landing by this highway. This is still pretty rural or suburban at best, but let's design it thoughtfully so that it might be able to evolve in the future. Now I'm going to start zoning individual parcels of land and fill in the Linden district. I never want to zone an entire area at once. For me, each building should be zoned individually so that way the neighborhood makes some kind of sense. Again, this is usually something I would do off camera because I can spend hours on just a few blocks. But for many of you beautiful people watching this, you may not know my style and I want to demonstrate my approach here in some amount of depth. Creating a neighborhood with mixed zoning is critical for having all the things a person would need within walking distance. In real life, some places do this very well, while others fail miserably. But I want to do it very well, even at the suburban level like this. I'll add walking paths, rather than streets sometimes, which will create alleyways for people to use. And might as well plant a few trees while I'm sitting here zoning. See here how I've grown two basic industrial sites? I don't want to have an entire district of random industrial assets. I'd much rather have buildings that fit in smartly next to the fire station and provide a few jobs to these new residents. Let's keep adjusting our power lines as we grow, but I want to stress to you that if you want a really bespoke city that looks great and works well, just take the extra time to zone with care and build little by little. You'll really start to feel a personal attachment to each place in your city because you've been there and you know what it's like. I'm going to keep placing some trees down to defend against any possible noise pollution issues. And also because trees are awesome. Come on. I'll just keep zoning some more until we hit that next milestone. Ay caramba! We made it to Boomtown. From here on out, dead bodies will accumulate in our city and cemeteries. So no more mega time lapses. Let me move or delete the forestry assets I plopped down before so that work can begin on project number 5, I think it is. Pretty sure it's 5. I definitely see this clue that was left in the street layout that it looks like this street once ran across the highway before it was split in two. This is very interesting. Maybe I can span the highway with another bridge for Linden, but I don't want to continue at the same angle because it's the same nearly 45-degree angle that the other bridge is at. I'm going to place some short guideline roads here so that I can easily space out an elevated portion of industrial road that will be perpendicular to the highway. Now, I'm going to raise the terrain up a bit so that the elevated portion will connect to the ground. And you know what? I'll raise all this terrain over near the mountain to match that same level. That's not perfectly flat. I'll show you a trick here to getting it perfectly flat right now. What you need to do is to have the terrain about 1 meter higher than it seems like it should be, and then when you drop the elevation step down, the road will lay flat. If it's not flat like it was a second ago, just adjust 1 meter down at a time until it works. We'll do the same on the other side, and now I'm going to temporarily, that's important to note, this is temporary, I'm going to temporarily delete roads and buildings here so that I can elevate the terrain underneath them. I'm being very careful to limit the area to remove only simple zoned low-density residential houses in as few blocks as needed to achieve a smooth hill that leads up to this overpass. The idea, if I do this well, is that you will hardly be able to notice that there's an elevation change, but the town will have a dynamic texture that moves up with this hill. Let's head back to the other side of the highway and keep clearing out these forestry assets so that I can finish work on this side of the bridge. We'll similarly clear out the roads here so I can raise the terrain up and then reconnect them. For those of you who are not vanilla players, this next step is easily done with a mod, but I'll show you how to do it without them. I want to have an actual truss bridge here instead of a basic overpass, so I'll dig a hole under the bridge and then rebuild it. The height difference has made the game switch the method. This is a technique I learned years ago from watching Captain Obvious, who, wouldn't you know, is going to be one of our guest builders in Skyline 6 later in the season. How awesome is that? Now take a look here. This is fertile soil, which means we could farm it, but I don't want to farm right here. An important thing to keep in mind is that without the lock forestry checked in the tree anarchy mod, which I definitely don't have, trees will permanently deplete fertile soil. Watch how when I plant this, the color changes. I can't get that back, it's gone forever. So I'm not going to plant any trees in fertile soil unless I absolutely have to. Now we know we'll need a cemetery, so how about we plant our departed Sims in this fertile soil near this tranquil truss bridge. Cemeteries are terrain-conforming assets, so I'll flatten out under the chapel and the walls a bit so they're not so distorted. I've set it back from the road at a slight angle, and now this is important to know that vegetations are props, not trees, so we can plant them without concern. And I'd like to add a gazebo, but... what? We don't have... oh, because we didn't level up the park. Let's go over to the park and do a quick level up. We've had a lot of people visit during those time lapses, so this should just be a matter of adding some buildings quick. Level 3, voila. That was easy. And level 4, there we go. No problem. See that? Success. Let's clear all those out. Again, I don't want to change too much on this side of Kevin's Landing. Now, where were we? Ah yes, gazebos at the cemetery. I think that's a very nice place for contemplation and reflection. And let's stick 2 little fountains or bird baths or whatever they are near the entrance just for good measure. Ooh, almost lost power there for a second again. Gotta be careful of that while doing work on 2 sides of a highway. Alright, let's rezone this residential. I'm not going to change it up too much, except that I connected the streets to the bridge road with the gravel paths instead of intersections. If we need to upgrade them in the future, it's not a problem. Okay, right over here I did a 1x2 industrial building which grew as this European water tower asset. Doesn't provide any water, but I still think it's cool, especially on the hill. Also put a commercial building, and I had upgraded this segment of industrial road during the zoning so that I could force a crosswalk between the gravel paths. But it also looks like safety rails, so by changing the segment over here, it gives us safety rails over the cliff on both sides. There we go, our little truss bridge is complete. There aren't too many bridge assets in Vanilla, but I think the truss bridges are among the coolest because they can be built with roads and rails in a few different styles. Also gives some character to an otherwise boring overpass road. So now it's time for project 6? I might have to stop counting at this point. Let's take a look at this terrain here. Even though this is vanilla gameplay, we are using the recommended theme that Karina suggested with the map that makes oil terrain look like this dry, cracked soil. I think this terrain will be a good candidate for masking more vanilla pollution. So let's get ready to create a special purpose facility with the biomass pellet plant. I'll start by creating a toll booth gate right on the tree line here. Now I'll throw in some arbitrary angles to the roads, and then I will place the biomass pellet plant. Hold on, let me just extend the district there. I'll place the biomass pellet plant and a sawdust storage right there. Sawdust storage almost looks like it's part of the same building, and its trees will blend in with the tree line to the left of it. That is exactly the kind of look I'm going for here. The pellet plant creates some pollution, so we don't want it too close to the trees. Let's add a big asset like the maintenance depot. And in the center of this field, we can move our wastewater treatment. This is a big polluter, so it should be right in the center. I think we could put 2 recycling centers and another pellet plant here as well. I'll add the wood chip storage, which also has trees on its border, and a warehouse for paper. These buildings will help with efficiency, but they also don't pollute, and so that will help mask the pollution fog that's going to happen. Here in this other small oil field, I'll place the other 2 recycling centers, and the pollution fog will, I think, do the same thing. Over on this side of the highway, we have to rebuild our actual tree plantation area. Let's just make some quick terrain adjustments, and I want the workers' barracks asset to be up here. It's pretty cool. Next to it, we can set up a couple of basic tree plantations along this dirt road. This is not the kind of place I think you'd see pavement even as the city develops. Ay caramba! The mountain is growing around this little water tower. Let's just place that up a little bit higher, and we have to make sure it's not in the pollution radius of the power plants, or else everyone will get sick. Let me just move this stuff out of the way real quick. Okay, I'm not quite done with the forestry stuff, but before I can proceed, I guess I have to begin project number 7. So I'm going to clear out these trees so we can build a simple PARCLO interchange. Even though this is vanilla gameplay, I have access to the cinematic camera extended mod, so I'd like to try some camera work that I learned from Dirty H. Check it out. By using guideline roads along the highway and setting up the terrain, I'll build a bridge over the highway with the pillars aligned right in the center. And then I'll use parts of those guidelines to serve as the setup for the ramps. I'll do the same thing over on this side. And now I'll create the right turn lane so that way vehicles don't turn left at the bridge to get off the highway. With cinematic camera, I'm able to fade in again with a detailed finished product. Take a quick peek at some of the detailing I did to the PARCLO, which means partial cloverleaf. This is still a rural area, so I wanted to use trees and natural elements. Nothing too complicated here, I was just trying to use the trees that Karina had put in with the map. Although I did blend in some vanilla conifers that come with the forestry assets, so you'll see them sprinkled around. You'll see I didn't put any trees on the other side of this road here because it's fertile soil, and like I said before... Whoa, sorry for the fade there. I had done like a 10-minute presentation about trees, and then I realized that I just explained the entire concept pretty well in 3 sentences just a moment ago. So don't worry, literally nothing happened at all, not even a little. I just love trees. Take a look here, the pollution is still present because I haven't unpaused, so if I planted trees here, they'd now appear dead, but we need to continue with the forestry project. So I'll connect this rural highway here to the larger avenue we had just made. Then, with a small road spurring off it, I'll place the main building and some sapling fields. I think they'll look nice next to the cemetery field and not too... What's a good adjective for forested? Sylvan? Arboraceous? Yeah, arboraceous sounds pretty rad, dude. Next to the saplings, I'll add another facility with some sawmills and a warehouse yard for planed timber. This way, we've got all elements of the forestry industry being produced and processed. There we go. We've got a curated forestry industry that is totally arboraceous. Let me clean up these pipes while I'm taking a look. And over here, we can add a road to the recycling centers. That's going to be pretty important. And likewise, we probably should connect our biomass pellet plant area. Alright, let's take a look. Water looks good. Electricity. We need to make sure to reconnect power lines where they're needed. I probably could use an earthquake sensor to bridge the gaps in power, but this area is still developing, so I'll rig up power lines because they're cheaper, and they'll probably get rearranged in the future anyway. Okay, everything is rigged up now and looking great. Wait a second, why don't we have enough electricity? Not enough fuel? What? Ay caramba. Okay, I think I know what happened. So when I was doing that detailing segment off camera, I saw that the road was missing a connection, this road here, so I quickly replaced it. I didn't think it was a big deal, but I guess I had bulldozed it when I was doing that terrain work, and I forgot about it for too long, and so now there's not enough coal because the trucks couldn't get up there for a long time. Look at those little icons. We gotta get coal to the power plant before it's too late. We have to wait for trucks to arrive from off the map to import this coal from out of town. Okay, here's an ore truck. Hell yes, it's importing a full load to the power plant. Yeah, little buddy. Come on, truck. Hurry up before everyone leaves the city forever and all my friends hate me for ruining Skyline 6. Please, 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 please. Come on, come on, come on. Ah, there we go. And we got another truck right behind it. And another one. Yes, this is good. Everything is fine. I was totally cool. No sweat. Absolute crisis management. Under pressure. 101 for all the noobs there. This is how you react to an emergency situation. It's called leadership, my fellow mayors. Why don't you take a note or two? I admit, though, I am a bit paranoid we're going to run out of coal, so let me just create a quick ore industry here to unlock the storage piles, and I might as well do the other industries as well while I'm at it. The storage doesn't need to be in an industry area, so let's put it by the recycling centers here. I think that makes sense. And it's sand, it's not coal, so it's going to be yellow when it fills up, but that's alright. It's the same thing mechanics-wise, so we'll use that, and hopefully, if I ever make a mistake like that again, or Raid Kitty does next, or Valley Lad, or Grottles after that, the ore storage will be there, ready to save the day. You're welcome. Alright, crisis averted. I'm going to do a little bit more work to our Linden district to grow it, since I really haven't grown it that much. After all that stress, just enjoy these few moments of tranquility as we do some wholesome City Skylines gameplay. Okay, I'm gonna take a break here and look at the cemetery. I see we have 98 Sims buried out of a total of 3,000 that it can hold. So we've got a while, but definitely not forever. I'm going to continue tree planting off camera because it would probably be an extra 2 hours of footage if I didn't. So just hang tight for a second while I do this fade. Okay, here we are 1 game year later. I think I'm satisfied for now with the natural detailing. Things are definitely more sylvan, that's for sure. It might not seem like too much, but for me, I really like to take the effort to select and plant each individual tree and vegetation piece, even in a dense forest. It gives me a personal attachment to every square meter, and I think I can blend the assets better than if I were to use a forest brush. Taking a look at our education stats, I see that Linden District isn't that well educated compared to the rest of the city. And I have to believe that's because of a lack of transportation options for the children. So over in our pellet plant, let's clear a small spot for a bus depot. Kind of looks like it'll fit in here. And now we can create bus lines. I'm going to start at the high school, stop outside of the elementary school, and then bring it all the way over to Linden Square. Let's turn these into school buses, which is really just for the look. It works the same way as any other bus. And we'll see what happens. People are starting to gather outside the high school. All right, here we go. First bus is off. Let's go to the elementary school now. Small crowd gathered here. And let's head over to Linden Square. Oh yeah, there's a group of people starting to gather here, and I'm sure that they will all want to take the bus to go to school. Perfect. I don't know if we'll see the gains quickly or not. I'm kind of running out of time for this video, so I think I'll just leave it as is. Before finishing up, let's look at these districts. I think we can leave Woodland Hills as a district name for this side of town. I had put that in during the detailing. But Linden District is way too, like, District 9 sounding to me. It's not really a district, this is a rural area. So I think we just adios the district out of the name and call it Linden. What do you think? And the forestry industry, let's see. I think I'll name it Tambert Bornay. Gotta say it with a French-Canadian flair for Steven, eh? And I'll name it that because Raid Kitty has been known to dabble with this castorific game, and she's coming up next Sunday. After Raid Kitty, we've got Valley Lad Gaming and Grottles. So if you want to see how the rest of the crew puts their style into this town, be sure to go to the video description, subscribe to everyone, click their bells, and add the Skyline6 playlist to your favorites. We've all been giving hundreds of hours of our creative energy to this project, in addition to the content we're publishing all the time anyway. This collaboration goes beyond just the 6 of us and our guest builders, and extends to a huge community of awesome people. Find us all in Discord in the City of Friends server. Everyone is hanging out there and are super chill. Be sure to tell people about this collab in Reddit, Facebook, wherever people are talking about what the next cool thing to check out is. This may be vanilla gameplay, but it's going to be fun, it's going to involve a huge chunk of the Cities Skylines community, and I'm honestly very happy you're here to be a part of it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out these Skyline 6 videos.